So people always ask me, where did the smart, funny, tortured thing come from? And I have to go back 5 years when I was beginning my journey and finding out who I was. I'd come out of a tremendously bad period in which I was now claiming my sobriety. Yeah, it was a pretty sad situation. I had gotten to the point where I was drinking my red wine out of a coffee cup that was red inside, so you couldn't really tell, and doing pathetic things like blowing on it, like I was actually drinking something hot. And my wife nailed me, caught me. It was sad. It's probably one of the most embarrassing moments in my life. And that's when I knew that I really had a problem. And I reached out to some beloved friends, and one in particular, who hooked me up with a master coach, because I knew that the drinking was the result of something larger, and I needed to look at my life. So, on the beginning of this journey, I set out for a 3-day intensive up in Santa Cruz with this renowned coach who had worked with Silicon Valley people and had done this for decades, and I never really had that much experience with a coach. But I was willing to try anything. And this was somebody that was familiar with addiction. He was sober himself. So off I went, and it was amazing. It was powerful. It was hard. It was enlightening. But I remember how overwhelmed I felt, because I knew that I could get better, but I also knew how fucking far the road was going to be. One of the exercises that he had me do was pick up the phone, or first make a list of 10 people who are close to you, who know you, and call them and read this script. And on the script it said, I'm at a retreat doing personal development. May I ask you a question? You can't ask any questions of me. I'll explain later in another phone call, but I just need to ask you one question. And you would ask these friends who you were calling, how do you see me? And it was mind-blowing, because there were some friends that were like, what the hell are you doing? What is this woo-woo shit? And then there were other friends who gave me an honest answer of how they saw me. And it was such a touching, powerful moment to hear from your friends and how they saw you authentically. The ones that really recognized the gravity and the purpose of this exercise. It brought me to tears. That was just one example of some of the exercises that I did with this coach. There were big posters all over the place, that writing stuff down. He was giving me assignments, questions. And when it was all over, I truly was fascinated by the power, the structure, the science-based academic background of coaching, and how beneficial it could be, especially compared to therapy. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but for me, coaching was definitely more of a give and take. And that's when he could tell that I was thinking about it, and my head cocked to one side. And he said to me, you are a mentor and you would be a good coach yourself. And, I wasn't even considering it, but it was a thought that landed. It wasn't dismissed out of hand. And I said, yeah, maybe years from now. And then he goes, who would you coach? And then, I swear to you, out of the blue, it came to me. I said, smart, funny, tortured people. I'd never put those three words together in my life. I said, I know those people. Those are my people. I get it. I know exactly what that combination means. And in the beginning, when I started my coaching practice 3 years later, it was just a brand. It was something that I remembered. I remembered the story. I remember the power of those three words. I remember what they meant to me. They were emblematic of who I was, but I had never really broken them down. And now, it's not a brand anymore. It's not even an assignation. It's not even a label. It's a movement. It's a flag for those who I know feel different and feel ready for something new and know that they're capable of so much more. But the constructs of school, work, society, relationships have just made us pick one or find one lane that we can get ourselves into just so we can get through the day, but never fully embracing all three of them. And like I've said before, smart is not intelligence. It is not IQ. It is your acumen, your skills, your talent, your learned experience all put together. The things that you and only you know how to do. It's that nurse that has been doing it for 15, 20 years, who loves what she does, but she can walk into a room and know exactly the temperature, the blood pressure, the level of pain that a person is feeling in a bed just by looking, just by sensing the room. That's a level of smart that you can only get by being a person who is empathetic, attuned to their surroundings. And from that comes a special kind of intelligence. And funny is the one that's dismissed often. It's the one like, oh, how funny are you? And are you good at telling jokes? It's like, no, it's not that. Funny is a word that simply is another word for pleasure. Joy, flow state especially. We are happiest, we are laughing, we are funniest when we are in flow state, when we are around those that add to us moving through life a little bit smoother. It is that. It is joy. It is laughter. And most of all, it is pleasure. From that place we give pleasure and we can accept it fully. And then the one that gets everybody is tortured. Tortured consists of desire, shame, and trauma. And in most cases, most of us, when you take those three things and you imagine them as circles overlapping into a tripartite Venn diagram, it's the tortured one that's inflamed the largest. It's the basketball next to the golf ball. Smart and funny are the golf balls, and tortured is the basketball. And that's why we live in this place of agitation and frustration and rage sometimes, is that our tortured is inflamed, it's out of balance. It's the one that we give all the energy to. And my goal with Smart, Funny, Tortured is to help people reduce that, bring that down, bring those three in balance, because those three working in harmony, my God, that's who you are. That's your potential. Imagine every single element, your acumen, your learned experience, your skill, your special talent, who makes you are, that's smart, engaged, fused with your joy, your flow state, where you find pleasure and how you give pleasure, balanced with smart, And then your tortured part. The shame that you acknowledge that you've brought under control. The desires that you give into and you freely let flow and not have wrapped in shame anymore. And then your trauma, which has come and gone. And now it has been processed. It has been looked at. It has been sat down with and talked to, because you have put all three of these elements into focus finally. And you're okay with it. It's who you are. The goal is not to be the ultimate healthy person. The goal is to be the ultimate honest person who celebrates these three elements and what they mean to you and who they are as it relates to you. There is power in knowing ourselves and being able to go to a therapist, go to a coach, go to a mentor and saying, you know what? I'm not coming to you looking to you to help me find who I am. I know who I am. Now I need to buff out the rough edges. Will you help me? That's it. How are you smart, funny, and tortured? If I have any mission in my life, it's to help as many people as I possibly can find out what those things are. Hey, before I go, I hope you're enjoying these episodes and that they're bringing you some real value. This is just the beginning of what I hope will be a much bigger conversation. And if any of this resonated with you, let me know. Drop me a message, DM, or leave a comment. You can find me at smartfunnytortured.com or smartfunnytortured on Instagram. Until next time, take care. It's going to be okay.